with the actual action of the writing and the journaling, and then to look at it, this massive pile of paper, I just gathered journal entries, and I was gathering, and then what I realized was that, that there was something quite bigger than me, the journal. It was something else, and it had become a book. And I truly believe, looking back on reflection, that past probably 9 years, particularly from 2013 on, and meeting that lady that you'll see in the book, she runs the whole journey with me, Brenda Sullivan from Dignity for Patients in Drogheda. And she's walked the path with me, and I've hit certain phases, and I've done certain actions to take me over this whole process. But what has become really apparent to me is that all the time I was being brought to what I naturally should be doing. So I was training, I was becoming knowledgeable, I'm just fascinated and hungry to find out more about how we think, why we think, what we do, and why we are the way we are. And it fascinates me. And it fascinates me just to try and find solutions, to become better, to be better. And to take, particularly for me, that awful feeling that I carried. And I carried it. And for a lot of many years, I didn't really connect that it was the residue from the event, because I had bypassed the head and gone into the body. So, and I've created an image of that. I personally haven't created the image. I've sat with somebody, I've conveyed the image, the feelings, the colour, the sense of it. And I can pop it on, I'll show you tonight, and I call it the swamp image. Because that's what it's like. It's dark, it's gritty, it's sludgy, it hangs on, and it's like a real heaviness that then comes on the chest when I'm presented, or was presented, to show up really anywhere. So I would have done a bit of hiding in my life, even though I was visible. There was avoidance, as in to protect myself. So these were some of the things, the residue from that event. But knowing what I know, learning what I'm learning, understanding me better, working with people, and because I practice what I do with clients, because I practice and live it and experience it myself, sure, looking back now, I can only be where I am now, because it's like, I think Can said this last week, and I put this in Lights the Way on my post, because I've grown so much, because I know me so much, because I'm so familiar with me, this is like the biggest obstacle that I had to face and go towards and walk through. This was the only way forward, or otherwise I remained stuck on where I was. And it is from me becoming so familiar with myself, knowing my thoughts, knowing what my thoughts cause me to do, what actions I take from it, knowing how they affect my emotions. I mean, when, I've developed that Mindset to Rise formula, and within that I talk about the two frequencies, your fall and your rise frequency, which is simply your negative and your positive thoughts. But if your thoughts are negative, well, then they have an impact on the body, which is not good, it's negative, and you're in a position whereby you're really in an unhappy place. And to know that you can take control of those thoughts deliberately, by becoming aware, stopping, pausing, and being deliberate in shifting that emotion, that thought, which then goes into the emotion, is powerful. I did it with John today on the Facebook Live, to put yourself in an empowering position whereby you can move forward. So knowing that, being familiar with me, this book was only going to evolve, but I only can say that now because I didn't know that. So I can only say that looking back. It was only going to go one way. And it's fascinating. It's been some journey from a therapeutic healing point of view, the action of actually writing, to get stuff out of your head and put it out and let it spill. I call it the spilling. It was a spilling, just to go with it. Don't judge it, prejudge it, just write, spill, allow. I work in images as well, so I would got images, so it would be image, and I wanted to create those images, and they're created, and it's wonderful because I do feel you get a sense of it through the imagery, because imagery is powerful. I mean, you'll remember 65% more of what I said in 3 days' time because of the images than you will if I just spoke. So imagery is so important to me, and giving you a sense and a feeling and putting you back in 1984, which I do believe I've achieved through the book, and allowing myself to really just be honest with myself, honest in the book, and to share some parts of me that maybe some might say, wow, that's a bit, you shouldn't have said that about yourself. But I think, that's okay for me to see. That's my choice. That's my decision. And it really is a way of conveying the coping strategies I actually just took on as a consequence of them few minutes, which only now in reflection and looking back can say, that's why I did that. I outran my head. So it's like I outran it, and so I wouldn't think. So I talk about that in the book, and I talk about getting out of the bed in the morning, propelling myself out of the bed at 5:30, 5:45, and I would go and go and go and go and go and go until I was tired, and that was probably about 9 o'clock, and then I'd go to bed. And I was so exhausted, I didn't have time to think, and then I'd sleep. And then that would start again, and bang, go, 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 go. And I did that for years. And I still wake up really early in the morning, and I still propel myself, but I do it deliberate, I do it conscious, I know what I'm doing, I've built in my habits, and I'm not compelled to do certain things and get frustrated with them. I just go, no, that's fine, I can do that tomorrow. Well, wow. So there's huge shifts all the time in me. And it's been a privilege to work with Heather Shields to do it. And I have definitely grown since last March. I'm different from the person I was last March to the person that sits with you tonight and looks back at you over the Zoom. I will be different in a week's time. I'll be different in 2 weeks' time. And the more I do this, the freer I am, I'm unburdened. And the feeling in this chest is just, what's the word? It's just why can I not say the word? It's just disintegrating. It's
dissolving.
Yeah, but there's another word, dissipating. It's dissipating. And it's like, I'm aware of that. And I know because I used one of the tricks I love to do, which is when something comes into my head or an emotion or a feeling that you have, rather than running with the thought, if I'm fearful or anxious, what I do is, okay, what's the feeling? What's the feeling? What's the feeling? Right, I'm anxious, I'm afraid. I put my attention fully on the feeling, and then I go, right, love. And I switch to a moment when I felt love or happiness, and I flick it, and it's like my boom. I've shifted myself from to like, but it's okay to say I'm like, too. It's okay to say I wobble. I'm fine with that, because I'm only human, and I have to accept that. So I'm going to read you something from the book. And I'd love your feedback on it. And it's a journal entry, and it's called, Who is My Judge and Jury? As I reflect back on the years of hiding or not disclosing to many what had occurred to me, I see how hard and judgmental I was on myself. The shame that was carried was immense. It alone stopped and overwhelmed me for years. I prejudged what others might think of me if I told them my story. I became a judge and jury on what I shared. So I hid it, buried it very deep for many years, because I also decided that others would think less of me. It's incredible how the mind works. I lived in self-protection mode for many years, and very few really knew me and how soft Jacqui was. But Jacqui didn't need someone to judge and talk down to her and tell her that this event didn't matter, that she was stupid making a fuss over nothing. Sure, it was only an examination. It's you that's overreacting, as I told myself quite often. I don't know when exactly I moved from judging and criticizing myself to being an advocate and friend. I realized I didn't need to be destroying myself like that. My 15-year-old needed someone to love her, to listen to her, not judge her, and instead step up and become an advocate for her. Be her voice, because what was done was wrong, and it was a violation on a child. And it was time that that adult woman helped, loved, and spoke to that 15-year-old. So as I write this book, it's about giving that 15-year-old a voice. It shouldn't have happened, and it mattered. And it matters now. The 15-year-old knew and knows that it was fundamentally wrong at all levels. So I made a quality choice that love is a much more powerful tool to use in this process than judgment and fear. I love that 15-year-old who tried to stop, but unfortunately he was going to perform the examination regardless of my questions. And he knew as he proceeded with this so-called examination that he was violating and degrading me. And in that moment, taking my power of choice. So I'm going home. With each and every page I write, I know that I am going home. So that's a journal entry, and I love that, to be honest.
Jacqui, that is gorgeous. And do you know, there's so much in that. Sorry if I'm interrupting you. I could hear something happened, right? And for the people who, you're getting a love heart there from Sharon. For people who don't know, like Jacqui had an inappropriate procedure when you were 15. Isn't that right, Jacqui?
Yeah, I went in for an eye operation and ended up having an internal examination and a breast check. But at that moment and in that time, I challenged him, which shows me how powerful I was at 15 in 1984, because you wouldn't have. And I remember saying clearly to him, I don't understand what this has got to do with my eye. And he said it had to be done. So it's about the years, the journey, the knowing, the deep knowing, but yet buried, put in the corridors of my mind. And I literally went on, proceeded with my life. And really in the last 13, 14 months, this has come home. And I, with the 15-year-old, is walking this journey to give it closure. And it's powerful because it's not written about him. I don't give him any credit. He doesn't deserve any of it. I give full attention to the readers. I give full attention to those who may have had a similar experience. And I give full attention to those who doubt themselves in their lives and don't step into their full potential. And this book is written for them. Jacqui, that is my intention for this book.
I heard when you read that piece out, and there's something you really speak very strongly about is knowing and doubt. And you talk a lot about that. And when you went through that experience and how it occurred for you at the time, and that was another word, I've actually jotted down a couple of words here. You said occurred. So it occurred for you this way. That was your perception at the time. But you went through this whole process of doubting yourself and nearly not believing what really happened for a period of time. But then you said, and many of us do that actually, but you said, but behind it all, you kept going back to knowing that it was wrong. And there was a big message in that knowing, and the truth came forward. And for many of us, I think your message, correct me if I'm wrong, but the message that you have is when we doubt ourselves, that's where we lose our power. And when we don't know who we really are, and we try to be, we put on this mask and try to be something else to have other people accept us, because there's a certain element of shame. I heard you saying shame there as well, and what others would think of me because of this experience that you had. But you took back your power and you owned what happened and you believed in yourself. So that was a very strong belief and a knowing. And I think that's a powerful message that you have throughout the book.
Absolutely. And you see, when we deny our knowing, well, then that's where we find resistance. That's when we find stress. That's when we suppress. And that's when we get sick. And when you step into that knowing and you're true to that knowing, well, everything aligns. And I think if we encourage this, and we encourage this with our younger generation and teach our younger people to trust your knowing, because unfortunately my generation was taught to question it. Not deliberately now. They didn't do it from a place of malice. They just did it. It was generational. So if I went home, I think I said this to you, Joanne, before, and you're in the schoolyard and you sensed something in the schoolyard and it didn't feel right, and you sensed somebody didn't like you, and you went home and you said, do you know what, I didn't think that, not at all. She must, don't you? That's silly. Don't be mad. Yeah. So that part of us wasn't encouraged, and I'm encouraging you to step that, because that knowing that I had in 1984, the feeling of it has never changed as I sit here today. It's the same. I knew, but I wasn't ready. But I now know, only now, that I really am stepping into my voice, which is even better. So I can say maybe 3 months ago, I didn't even have the same sort of voice. I didn't have the same feeling or sense of me. So it's quite incredible.
And you know what, Jacqui, as well, I can hear in that is this is a very powerful message for parents. Well, it's a powerful message for everybody, right? But for parents, and when you were talking about like children and things happen when we're a child and we make it mean something and we carry this through our life. And as a parent, if we encourage whatever a child is saying, rather than saying, don't be silly or stop crying, or, you know, like what some parents, not us, because we're perfect, right? Other parents, but it's there, do you know what I mean? And, you know, you hear parents saying, oh, stop crying, or don't be whining, or here's a chocolate bar, will sweeten you up, or whatever. So we're suppressing what they're feeling. And for many people, we all have emotions, but we don't always feel our emotions. And that's what's missing. So I can really hear that your message would be very much for parents as well, like, you know, to listen to their children.
Or just listen, and you know, because you can often then, and notice then, just listen, because they're not ours. I said this before.
Yeah, we don't own it.
My daughter simply borrowed to me.
Yeah,
that's all, and all I can do is best demonstrate her how best she maybe live her life through me. But it's her watching me and what I'm demonstrating that she learn. But it's not for me to judge her. Now, I'm not saying that's easy when I try and jump in at times, and I'm not saying I don't. But I very quickly say, Jacqui, where do you get off, really? I have to sort of question myself and try and pull back, because I'm trying to instill in her the freedom for her to make her choices. And if she does, and she's fairly intuitive and she's fairly self-aware, I think she'll stand in a better and more powerful place in herself. Yeah. So, it's so important that we remember that.
Yeah, yeah. Children need to discover who they are. Like that's we empower our children to find out what it is that makes them happy, because so many kids are following the footsteps of their parents because their parents said they should become a doctor, or they should become a lawyer, or a good job, whatever that is. But it's what makes them happy, what fills them up, like, you know. So we don't own our children. I love how you said that, Jacqui. We don't own our children. So in other words, we have to let our children grow and develop into who they want to become, and that's where their power and their strength is, and where they're happy in life and where they're fulfilled.
Yeah, and like, right or wrong, people mightn't agree with me. This is only my view as a parent, right? I just want her to be happy, because I know there's challenges and she has challenges. So, but if she's not happy, what nothing actually matters. So she must be happy. And, you know, some might say, oh, the approach is quite odd and different, but I think I trust that, you know, I'm going with the fact she's got to be happy. And if she's happy and she follows what she loves, it's effortless. And when you put her, which are very obvious, if you put her in situations that she has zero interest in, and she'll quickly tell you, what purpose will I have, Mum, for that as an adult? And I can't kind of back up and say, because I'm of the same view as her. And but it's effortless when she steps into her own and she does what she's gifted at. But if she's challenged to do stuff that she's not, her eyes glaze over. And, but you know what? I get that. So it is around navigating that, and she has to do certain things. We know that, in certain protocols the systems have created for us that we have to step into. But we'll navigate it as best we can. But you know what we'll do? We might just break the mold as well. Yeah. You know, because just because something is as it is doesn't mean it has to be that way. So, and I'd ask a question. If something can be done better, I'll ask it. I will say, like, for her.
Donald wants to say something. Do you want to jump in, Donald?
Yes, Jacqui, I find what you're saying and what you've written to be a great example of the truth shall set you free. I mean, clearly where you've come to in the last year and a half, or whatever it is a willingness and a courage to accept, to be with, to acknowledge, and to express. Mm. Yeah. And you know, there's another saying that I like. It says, facing and feeling is the road to freedom. It's a good example of what you're doing. And I also want to recommend a TEDx talk to you. This is very highly recommended. This only occurred to me tonight to recommend it to you. It's a TEDx talk. It's on YouTube. And the title is How the Story Transforms the Teller. How the Story Transforms the Teller, and it's by Donald Davis.
Okay. I'll watch that, Donal. I even like the name of it. I like where that's going with that.
And it does what it says on the can. That's what it's about. It's not about the audience. It's not what the story does to the audience. It's how the story transforms the teller.
Right. Okay.
I have the link here. I'm going to stick it in the chat box for everyone. I found it there.
Now, I don't know whether we have time. I had a couple of more things to read. So
yeah, do one more and then we'll have people share.
Okay. So I'll read then. I'll go to the back, and it's a closing poem I have, because believe it or believe it not, in this whole journey I've done or whatever, I write poems. So it's this is another new awareness piece that I've become aware of. And it's called, I Must Be Obedient to the Callings of My Soul. To be my truest self, to find calm, fulfillment and peace of mind, I must listen to and be obedient to the callings of my soul. To be whole, to find my true meaning, I must listen to and be obedient to the obedience of my soul. For if I am not to listen, I will only be a shadow of myself. I must listen to and be obedient to the callings of my soul, to the callings of my truth, to who I am, to what I am, and to what I am here to do. I must rise above my fears, worries, and doubts, to be able to go to that safe place within me that is everything I need. I must listen to and be obedient to the callings of my soul. I must be obedient and trust the callings of myself. Yes, I choose to be obedient and to listen to the callings of my very soul. So at last I have found myself truly at home.
I love how you say that you found yourself at home, because we're always finding our way home, and that's really where everything starts in the home. That's where security is. I love that, Jacqui. I'm going to open up because we're coming to the top of the hour. Does anybody have any feedback? Hans, do you have a call coming up, or you usually have a call coming up?
No, I'm fine. I can run a little bit over. I just need to prepare for our talk to Your Holistic Academy. I always do in the last minute to keep the adrenaline flowing. Jacqui was awesome. I mean, there are lots of thoughts that you trigger. There was one, I mean, I'll just leave you with this one thing, which is, a quote, I think, from Churchill. At 20, we worry about what people think of us.
Oh, yeah.
At 40, we stop worrying about what people think of us. And at 60, we realize the guys weren't thinking about us in the first place. So it's that wonderful, I mean, it's really a wonderful journey of enlightenment that we all take. I mean, and each part of life contributes to it. I also put the first verse of a poem that I really like. I heard it again years ago when I started my journey, from Rudyard Kipling, the poem If. And in it is sort of captured. It was written for his son, and his son actually, that's a great story. So I'll stop right there. But thank you, Jacqui. It was awesome.
You have to tell me that story again, Hans. You just can't say that and finish that. That's not how it works.
Well, there's a film. There's a film called My Son Jack, which describes Rudyard Kipling's son, who was rejected from the army in the First World War, his challenges to get into the army and then ultimately die on the Somme. But it was his struggle because he wasn't fit enough to go. But yeah, and the poem was to his son.
Brilliant, that's good. Thanks, Hans. I know Joseph has to leave soon because it's his daughter's birthday. Joseph, do you want to share anything before you go? You're on mute there. Can I just unmute it?
Yes, yeah, it's reminding me of my age when you have a daughter of 32 and she's not the youngest. So anyway, well done, Jacqui. Yeah, absolutely, yes. Well done, Jacqui. That's an incredible breakthrough to actually come out and speak that and really reveal yourself to yourself more than even to the world, because that puts you in a place of great strength. And to use Joanne's word earlier, empower. that really puts you in that place of power. And it's only a starting point in many ways too, because there's so much, I'm reading your face a bit, but there's so much more to come from you. So congratulations, and looking forward to so much more flourishing from you.
Thanks, Joseph.
Thanks, Joseph. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. And see the way he said that, I'm reading it in your face. And then I'm going, what's he reading now? You see, and there, so he's like hands as well now. So like, we're not going anywhere now. Cancel the meeting later on there, Patrick.
There's loads more to come from Jacqui Taaffe. John wants to say something. Thanks.
Sorry, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, Joseph.
See ya.
Jacqui, I know you're incredible, and you know you're incredible, and that's the most important thing, is that you know you're incredible, and you are incredible, and it's such a brave and courageous journey that you're on, and I just admire you so much, and there is so much more to come, and it's just an absolute honor to be working with you. And now I've been called for my dinner, so
John, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah.
Thanks, John. Thanks for coming. Anybody else? Seamus?
Yeah, Jacqui, I just wanted to say I admire the courage it must have taken for you to really share your story with us. Very personal story, personal journey. One of the things that came to mind as you were speaking, go back to what you mentioned around the fall and rise, the negative and positive energy, and the opposing forces, I guess, between self-judgment and compassion and self-compassion that you spoke about. And, you know, what came through and what you spoke about was the compassion you had for your 15-year-old self. And it felt like you were giving your 15-year-old self a hug, honestly. And the compassion in that, and I suppose the yearning that what you wish that was there at that time, that you had that compassion for yourself and maybe from others, as an opposing force to the self-judgment that you went through, you know, for at that time and for many years afterwards. So again, it just seems like a major breakthrough for you that you've reconciled, I guess, and seeing the power of that self-compassion, even though it wasn't delivered at the time. It would have been fantastic. And I can see how that's a major motivator for you, and a key part of your recovery. Well, I won't call it even recovery, but your ability to be able to actually move forward, I guess, you know. So again, congratulations and well done.
Thanks,
Great acknowledgement. Thanks, Seamus. Patrick, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just quickly. One, if more people realized that the only thing that mattered was the soul and what comes from within, then this world would be a better place. Everything else that exists, every single material thing that exists is irrelevant to the power of the soul and the power of within. So your finishing poem was really, really powerful, Jacqui. Also, I'm going to put this in the chat there now. If you want to hear more of Jacqui, she's on my show Monday at 12 o'clock on the radio. So you can listen to the radio online from wherever you are in the world on www.lccr.ie. With a bit of luck, I get through any guard controls with the letter I have. I get to go to Limerick on Sunday evening, come back on Monday, which means I'll have your podcast, Joanne, and yours, Jacqui, done by next week. And I'll share that with the group. So, but listen out for more of Jacqui on Monday on the radio.
Fantastic. Great. Carol, you wanted to thanks, Patrick. Thank you very much for that. Carol, you wanted to say something?
Yes. I can relate to your story, Jacqui. There have been many times in my life I felt very uncomfortable and inappropriate. Things were happening, and to me and to others. And I read a book called The Purpose-Driven Life, which really helped me kind of understand, maybe, you know, it was, why does this happen to me? Or what was, you know, and the Purpose-Driven Life book really understand that bad things can happen. There doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason, but what we can do with it. And I found that all these experiences that I've had have made me be relatable to people. It really puts me in a position where I can help others get through this, because I have gone through this. I've got past it. And the other thing, I mean, it's one point, and the other thing I've learned in my life is to release the frequency, because everything that happens, every thought, everything that's said to us, every experience we have has a frequency, leaves a signature in the body. And I found that your writing this journal is an incredible catharsis. It's walking through the process, but also I find that I do this tapping, or I do, I actually proclaim it with my mouth, because the word is so important. And I'm so glad you're talking and speaking about this, because your spoken word and releasing this out to the universe and getting the positive feedback back is so forcing for you. Also deep inside yourself, as you say, acceptance of your soul. And I always say, even though blah, blah, blah happened to me, or I went through this experience, I deeply and completely accept myself, accept who I am, and forgive myself. Because that's when we carry these guilt. We carry guilt, even generational. It can pass down generationally. So you are in some place of letting your whole family be released. I mean, this is so incredible. Yeah. It's amazing. So I applaud you. I'm just love you. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
I really do what Carol is saying. Like, it's like, Jacqui, what you're doing, you know, the message that you have and what you're doing is, you know, you're helping everybody else, you know, in the world who, because we all have challenges, and life happens, as Carol Ann says, and but stuff, you know, we do have generational stuff, you know, from our parents or grandparents going back, what, 7 generations, 14 generations, even some people say, and you're helping to clear that in your family line. So like, it's absolutely massive, and that can have an impact on your family, your immediate family at the moment as well. So yeah, it's really, really big. It's really big, and it's very courageous as well, Jacqui. We're gone past the top of the hour. I want to respect people's times. I just want to see if any, Ma'am, would you like to tell us your experience maybe, or have a little message for Jacqui?
But no, it's just, I wish I had the wisdom that she's putting out there now, and how to deal with things. But what's done is done, and we just have to get on with it, and I just don't know how to express it.
It's the perception. I think you're trying, like, I suppose it's changing our perception on how what's happened, because what's happened has happened. It's done. It's
happened, yeah. So I often look back and say, God, what would my life be like there ago if I'd have known better?
Yeah, and we can beat ourselves up with all of that, but we learn from what happened and take everything that happens in our life as a learning. So reframe it and change the story. Now, look, it's not easy done in an awful lot of cases, but we always attach a story to an event that happened and we make it mean something. And I think what Jacqui is saying in her message is she's on a journey of growth and knowing who she is, and she's always growing and always coming back home. She's getting closer and closer to home all the time, and we're always on this journey of learning and discovering, always. So it's exciting, and I think that's what we're here on this planet for, is to learn from all our experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kay, you know what I found with the experience of the training I'm doing and the stuff that I love with that? When I know better, I do better. And you can't change the past, and to invest any energy in it. All we have is now. So step into it and own it and make the most of it for any of us going forward in our lives, because because life's for living and it's precious.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's precious.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jacqui. That was
Thank you, Jacqui, for your words.
Thanks, Kay.
So we're near the end. Anybody else want to give any last minute? Aaron, do you want to say something quick?
Yeah, I do. Jacqui, one thing that struck me, and I hear it through everyone's feedback, is, and I hear in other people's tones how your story and what you shared had impacted them. But I feel that in writing this book, you released the shackles of your soul. What I mean by that is you had something experience happen to you, not nice. And in writing this, you got to say to your younger self, it's okay. Come on, let's give us a hug. Let's go walk and watch TV or watch cartoons. And in writing this book, you allowed your soul and the superpower that you have inside you to blossom out. And like what Joseph McGuire said, I see more to come. You've just left the harbour and you're on sail to wherever this goes. So thank you for sharing.
That's beautiful. I love that, Aaron. I love the way you put that. And yeah, you're right. And I do talk about this, and it is in the book how we walk together, me and her. And that's why I would say to people, you are your greatest advocate. So I'm her greatest advocate. So I talk about her nearly in the third person as if she's someone else, even though she's the younger version of me. So it's, and you're right. It is about embracing that and bringing it with you. And can I show you the image of the feeling? Maybe I shouldn't, but that's the feeling. Can you see it?
I'll just say goodbye to Carol Ann there. She's heading off as a client. See you, Carol Ann. Thanks a million for coming.
Isn't it? Can you see the figure?
Yeah, look at that.
That is the creation I call the swamp-like figure, and that is the amalgamation of the feelings and the emotions that went straight onto my chest that I'd carried in scenarios. So I thought it was really, to express it was a nice way to see it in an image.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how it was for me.
It's great when you can portray it as an image, as you say, Jacqui, and you know, the color, how it feels, where it sits in your body, all that stuff, because that's all very relevant in helping us see it, because we have to see it, don't we? We have to see it before we can release it, and we have to acknowledge it, acknowledge it, because the more we deny our feelings, the stronger and stronger those feelings are going to get, I suppose, until we acknowledge them and let them be, and then we can dissolve them. But I think it's important that we can see it, and what you're doing there in that imagery, Jacqui, is a great way, a great tool of doing it. Jacqui,
it is, and it's about adding colours, and it's about giving it its character, and you might give it a name, do you know what I mean, if you want it, but it's so important for others if they wanted to do that. And that's, I just thought it was, for me, you know, how can I best describe this other than saying it's a heavy feeling on me? I said, wow, no, I need to show it in an image, and that came to me. So it's yeah, so it's different, and there's a great toolkit in this book too that you can read and take with you everywhere. So look, I was inspired, and I'm in spirit when I'm doing it. So that's how I feel about it. It is a soul piece, and it needs to reach many. And please share it out, because it needs to find whoever it needs to find. There's certain people that will need to read this. Like this morning, I got a message into my LinkedIn from someone from a very far part of the world away, who said to me, look, I had that happen to me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what was in my phone this morning. And that took bravery for her to put that in a message on LinkedIn to me. So it is around that. And I hope it does what it's meant to do. But it's done from a place of kindness and love. That's what it is.
You know what you're providing, Jacqui, is it can be a lonely place when people have had something happen to them. You know, it's a lonely place, but when they see, like, me too, it happened to me too, they can, you know, people will get them, and there's a connection there, do you know what I mean? And it's so great. Jacqui, will you put your link into the chat there before we go? Your book launches on the 18th of February, and you have speakers coming to your event, Donna Kennedy, and I know Patrick Mercy is doing MC.
Patrick's MC, God help him, and he's going to take he's doing everything. So he's brilliant. No pressure, Patrick. He is brilliant, though. He is brilliant. He is brilliant. And we're having a giveaway, Patrick's suggestion. And then we have Donna Kennedy. We have Heather Shields, who's the lady who's done this journey with me. And then I have Bernadette Sullivan, who is the lady who created the Dignity for Patients in Drogheda. She is a whistleblower for a major medical case here in this country. And that lady has been with me for 9 years at the end of a phone, and in many conversations we've had, myself and her, and she's going to be speaking on the night as well. And she's incredible. So, and then seemingly I'll throw a few words in, Patrick.
Of course, Jacqui.
I can see Patrick looking at me there going, and you, Jacqui, and you're forgetting you. But I mean, so I'm excited, and it's really booking up, and I'm so happy because I can see all the faces here is booked it already, but it's over 50% already filled up. So
put the link in the chat, Jacqui, before
yeah.
And I'll put it on I'm going to do a summary of this meeting, and I'll put the recording into this group, and I'll put the link in the comments of that as well, Jacqui.
Yeah, if you put the two links in that section, yeah.
Yeah, I will. And myself and Jacqui did an interview, and that's going to be, it's late coming out, but I'm going to have it out in the next day or two, Jacqui. So myself and Jacqui did an interview as well. So that's going to be coming out on my podcast, the Empowering Family Health podcast. So watch out for that. And what else? Do I have any other announcements? I think that's it.
I hopefully have the podcast of our show we did on the radio, Joanne, next week as well. If I get to Limerick this weekend, which I'm allowed to, I got a letter that I can travel as an essential volunteer. So I'll bring that back with you, and then I'll share that with you in the group here.
Brilliant. Oh yeah, fantastic. And send me on the video as well, and I'll put that on my YouTube. Yeah, brilliant. You have to maximize all this, you know. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So listen, I just want to acknowledge you, Jacqui, in particular, for the incredible work that you're doing, the courage that you have. And I can really hear another, like something that stuck out for me was to mind your inner child, because we all have an inner child that we have to mind and look after, because when we get into that reactive kind of a place, it's usually like a childlike kind of reactions, you know, and we have our 15-year-old child like what you had, Jacqui, and you're forever mind. And what I do is I have a teddy bear that I bring to bed at night with me. And that's my little child, my little inner child, my hug. And I give her love and I say, everything's okay, I have you now. And it's powerful. It's really, really powerful, because we all have an inner child. But anyway, we could continue this conversation for a long time, but I want to respect your time. And Jacqui, I really want to thank you and really acknowledge it, because you're really, after coming out of yourself, and like, oh my God, I can see big things happening for you after your book launch. And you're just so inspiring, you're so empowering. And I'm just so grateful to know you and have you as a friend, Jacqui. And thank you for giving us your talk tonight here in the group.
Oh no, listen, I'm so privileged to be surrounded by such wise people here, because you're incredible. And do you know what, pandemic for me, I've met more people in this pandemic, more incredible people in this pandemic, like-minded people than I have ever before, and I love it. And so I'm so privileged that you gave me the time to share it. And I just love what I do, and I love helping people who can, you know, we are incredible, all of us. And we just really need to get the message out to tell people, and so that they can believe that about themselves, because we are.
Yep.
And I don't have to tell all of you, you know that. So it's like, we've just got to get to it. We are the change makers, aren't we? Or Patrick called me fire starter. That's what
I love it.
That's what he called me. And then I could hear the music in the background going.
Well, that's what this group is all about. It's about empowering each other, so that we can be filled up to empower the people around us and our families, our clients. And that's what it's, because we do need to be empowered. We need to be filled up. We have our needs as well. And it's important to be surrounded with people who, you know, are filled up basically, and their cup is overflowing, so we can give each other our positive energy. And that's what it's all about, is empowering each other so we can empower other people in our lives. So I'm going to say good night to everybody, because I could sit here for another hour and my dinner is on. Well, it's ready. So listen, good night everyone, and God bless, and thanks a million.
Thanks for your wonderful feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqui, for your inspiration.
Oh, thanks, Kay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
The energy that's coming from you, it's just bamboozling me.
Lovely.
You're filled up now, Mom. You don't need to go and lie down or anything. You're all right. You can take it all.
We need to bottle that. We need to bottle this energy we have here on this.
Yeah,
we have to sell it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hans, any ideas how we do that? No.
You know, that's a great thought, that you just well, you know, you're bottling it with your podcasts. Yeah. And I think selling it, you know, we had Johnny Byrne on YHA yesterday telling us how to sell it. You know, make a 60-minute, what is it called? It's not like a career course. It's more of a decision course or a transformation course. Yeah. And that's how you would sell it. I think it would be something to consider, maybe through YHA, because the messages, as you know, we're not alone. No. And the human condition has been around for a long time. So it's very difficult to say anything new about it, but it is also difficult to connect to the people that we need to connect to at the time we need to connect them to. Although, as you said, the universe does provide the synchronicity, you know, that happens, and then the things that get organized around one once we've made the decision, or once we've had the thought. Yeah. And that's why, you know, there was a lady talking about book writing, In the olden days, like in the Greeks and the Romans, they talked about the muse. So they were not worried about the writer block. They just figured out, I'm turning up, where's the muse? The muse ain't coming up. Not my fault, you know, but most writers sort of take the responsibility on themselves rather than some external muse. And you know, when you start flowing, you don't really know where it comes from. And it does feel sometimes like it is a muse that is sort of whispering in your ear, and you say, now, how the hell did I put those two thoughts together? You know, it's yeah. So that's how I would bottle it. Do the empowering, you know, and you know, the words empower, inspire, you know, heal. Voltaire said, who actually was a physician I didn't know, the job of the physician is to keep the patient amused while nature heals the disease.
Yes.
And what Joanne was saying, there is the placebo and the nocebo effect. So when we listened to Paul Coughlin last week, you know, he actually was asking for the nocebo effect, because to trigger the placebo requires the physician to say, don't worry about it. We have it under control. You get on with the healing process of your life. So so there are three powerful words, you know. The most powerful word is was it empower? You know, I tell people, I can't give you a job. I won't give you an excuse to sit in front of the TV and do nothing by paying you a salary, but I will give you an opportunity. I will empower you to step into your power. And then it's up to you. That I have then just, you know, you have, with your story, you have you have dispatched your responsibility to the species, because you have now shared awareness that people can feel, own, and be empowered by. And that's what I love about these talks. And I should stop talking right now because I'm just rolling on and on.
Oh, we could
Thank you.
All day, Hans. Brilliant. So inspiring. We're all inspiring, aren't we?
We are. And I mean, it is, I think the saddest thing is that we let conditions, or we let thoughts, we let people grab our power from us. You know, and I'll leave you with this last thought from a guy called Peter Medawar, the last gentleman scientist I heard. And one of my customers is actually a good friend of his before he died, or knew him before he died. He is the father of transplantation surgery, okay? He says, with respect to your science, which means with respect to what we do, you've got to be very humble, because you're going to fail. You are going to fail. However, with respect to your fellow man, you've got to be very, very haughty, because you cannot afford to be laughed out of a good idea. So take that arrogance, take that haughtiness, you know, to heart. You have stepped into your power, you know, and if your friends don't think you're crazy, you're not living at the limit of your potential.
I learned something from Nolene about being mad when your friends think that you're mad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, MAD stands for making a difference. There you go.
I love it.
Making a difference.
And Jacqui, I really would love to have a one-on-one in your busy schedule. If you can find a sliver of time, please.
I'll go to your calendar, Hans, do I?
That would be awesome. And I'll see you guys later. And
Okay.
I'll try to keep it short there as well. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your lovely feedback. We'll be here, Joanne. We'll be here.
I know, my dinner's ready on the table.
We're talking about something else, huh?
Good night, everyone. Thanks a
million. Thanks.
Bye.
See you later,
Bye.
Joanne, right? Ring me later on, Joanne.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.